Welcome to the best of the tie-in.
We're here today with Hans Dayal, and Hans is a local fixture in the Vancouver film production scene.
To your earlier question about, where do we run into roadblocks or obstacles? Now, if you're switching from studio to studio, and if your production executives aren't on board or aren't engaged in the conversation, then you have to reinvent the wheel with them. It's great and helpful to have, the sustainability reps from the major studios, but not all the shows have that or have a person like that are part of our greater conversation. I do think that it's harder to translate it when the production people aren't savvy, and that's maybe a step in the direction we need to go as production people, to try and really educate our production executives. The sustainability people are all on board, and there's going to be the actors, and there might be a showrunner here and there that's
Yeah.
really on board, but you need the people that are doing the granular financing and budgeting and things like that to really understand that, oh, there's a savings, there's an economy here, there's lots of little places where there's something that's happening that you're like, oh, if you can capture that and make the case for it, then they sort of buy in. I'll give you a great example. Your batteries, for example,
Yep.
portable electric batteries. We would have riggers cabling for days. If we were doing big sets, we would have them cabling for days, hours to get the cable from the vendor into the truck, over to the location, laid out properly, safely, and then once we shoot the scene,
Permitted to the
permitted.
generator.
Right,
The generator's
exactly.
parked down the street.
That's right, and it's crossing, like, 6 people's properties, so you're doing buyouts on all this stuff. Well, now I have a 20K battery, I pull it up to where we're lighting, it's
Mhm.
parked right there, it's no noise, no emissions, and we have one run of cable that goes up to the rooftop of the building, say, for example, and it's done. And so
Yeah.
we just saved ourselves all that labor, all that hauling, all that cable, and if we could put that on one sheet and show it to a production executive and say, "Every time we run a battery, this is how much you save." That's the ticket, that's the thing that makes them think, "Oh, I get it now." It may seem like we're paying a little premium to have the battery, but the savings are tenfold, cumulatively.
hmm And have
Amazing.
over the years, as you've been, maybe using more batteries and whatnot, trying different things, have you seen the conversations with the production execs evolve?
Yeah, I have actually, because probably I would say 5 or 6 years ago, like when I say, for example, when we started on Virgin River even, which is a great show that showcases how far a show can go over 5 or 6 seasons. I brought in, people to talk about recycling, to talk about fuel, and the Jenny op there didn't understand what I was talking about. And cut to season 2, we brought in the UPS and tried it because it was the first run at it, and we brought a couple of batteries in, and now I left the show after season 2, I hear what now they've ran entire weeks and months without burning any fuel, and
Amazing.
Mhm.
which is monumental, right?
Mhm.
So that's buy-in from the production executives. I mean, Netflix is very progressive, so they're very interested in doing that, but also, the producers, like, at first, they were just looking at me and laughing and teasing me. I would get mad when they would photocopy I would get mad they would photocopy more than 2 or 3 scripts for a meeting and leave them in the boardroom for a production meeting or whatever. I would say, "All of this can be done digitally. Let's take this, we're not photocopying anymore. If someone asks for a photocopy because you have people like that, then we'll allow it, and they can do it themselves. We're not gonna The office isn't gonna do it, production's not gonna do it. They'll have to do it themselves." Well, that's all gone now from that show. They don't do anything with paper, and if they do, I mean, it was one of the first shows too that used the rice paper, so it was just like we were doing things all the time, and as we showed that we could do them and it was efficient, producers, production executives, they got on board and it evolved. And I think that happens slower with certain generation of executives, but I think it's happening pretty quickly now. And I think that, like I said, you all are critical to the movement of getting the conversation going at a really high level, which is where we need them to be engaged. They need to get the
Mhm.
pressure from their bosses and the studio heads and all these sort of different managers, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the way you're talking about it confirms some survey data that we have. We've had an open survey out to the film and TV industry and really entertainment in general, also including music and sports, to ask like one of the questions is something like, who do you think needs training the most? And there are various levels of positions, all, crew all the way up to execs and whatnot. And so far, what we're finding is the execs seem to like that's people are saying we need the execs, we need the management to have more training, right, on this. So I think that's really interesting, kind of jives with what you're talking about as well.
Yeah. Just making one sheet business cases, if I could spend my time and someone would pay me to do this, and just plugging in very simple infographics and saying, look, the labor for a rigger to lay this cable over 3 days, the cost of transportation, the cost of fuel, the cost of actually buying out the permit and the location fees or whatever it is versus renting this battery. And you just put that chart together, and every time you talk about a battery, that thing pops out. You talk about uh, whether it's renewable diesel or it's another alternative fuel source. You say, well, this is what real fuel costs. This is what we're talking about. Yes, there's a slight difference, but then you say, look at the changes that we can make. I mean, for me, the business case for renewable diesel was that we could install tanks right on our property. We put a tank on our property. So now I'm not sending a driver or a fuel truck driver to go and fill up a fuel truck at a gas station. We're doing it and it's delivered to us on the site that we're at. And so you're taking 2 trips or 3 trips of a truck away from the equation. And that's once a day. So, you know, over time that starts to become something. And you can make the argument and say, now I don't even actually need that driver, or I don't need an additional fuel truck on a larger show. I mean, I know this is super granular, but these are the kinds of things that you can show and say, look, we've authoritatively looked at this and really thought this through, and here's the case for it, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the hard numbers, but also there's that you mentioned the mindset, the nudging social and sustainable behaviors, right? And no one's going to want to be left behind. And also I'm sure there's a certain level of attrition that's happening naturally as well in the industry. So we're starting to see the new generations coming
Yeah.
in, and hopefully they'll start doing it. I mean, we'd love to catch people even at the film school level. We're still working on that because that's really where, you can start to make entire productions without even a generator at this point, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're seeing that in the UK and Europe, and you're saying that you guys are starting to have entire weeks with limited to no generators. Um, but what are you seeing about the cast and crew trailers and honey wagons? I know you've had a special interest in terms of the sort of solar powered for a lot of this
Yeah.
equipment. It's been a bit slower go, of course, maybe especially in northern climates, but I mean, what are your takes on Circus and all of the
Well,
ancillary equipment?
yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. I think that the equipment that we use to support, like we're a portable, caravan of our vehicles. That whole infrastructure that we take tote around, I would love to find a way to make those really efficient and energy efficient and all that. So that has been a bit of a question mark or question that I've had of like, how do we microgrid this, for example? Do we build trailers that have batteries in them and charge them, or hybridize and use a generator, charge them up? Like, how can we get all that stuff going? Obviously, that takes a lot of money and capital to try that. One of the things we did on this show, which was probably our big experiment on the show that I'm doing right now, was we got this big battery that they use out in the oil fields, in the oil patch,
Mm.
a 1 megawatt battery, and it's hot with a generator.
In a shipping container?
It's bigger than a shipping container.
Right.
It's a towable giant battery.
Nice.
And we found this thing through finning, and we brought
Mm.
it to our circus, our base camp. So we built a backlot. It's almost a $10 million backlot. It's a very big backlot, Western
In
camp
in Alberta.
in Alberta.
Yeah.
And we found this technology. One of the guys that was working in sustainability here found it and brought this machine in, and we ran our circus on it, and it replaced 5 generators. And so this thing would
There you
run
go.
basically a town of, we had 200 and some crew, 250 crew every day, and then we would have about 150 to 200 extras regularly every other day or whatever day was we were there. And so there's 500 people on the site with horses, with like multiple horses, like 60 horses and cowboys and trucks and trailers. And this battery would run for 18 hours a day as a battery, and then we charge for 6 hours a day. And that's how we basically made this work. And we took away all the generators that were running the base camp. And, that's how we did it. And we used renewable diesel in the generator that was powering this. So,
Woo.
yeah. So
That's how it's done.
I don't know what the measurements are yet. Like we're still trying to do all the calculations, but my sustainability team said we think we saved enough carbon that it's like the equivalent of what we would consume on a feature film, which is a ton of carbon.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean,
And the cost of diesel and
that's right.
everything.
Yeah.
Just wiring up,
Yeah.
cabling 5 generators. I mean, it's just like goes on and on.
Goes on and on. So that was something that we're trying. We don't have the data yet. We haven't put it all together, but just watching it unfold and watching people get excited about this whole thing uh, made me think. Now, if I can find a way to do this in smaller ways, and
Mhm.
like I said, the microgrid version of this, I think that this is something that we can tote and figure out. And part of why I think we want to do it is because what I want to do with it is because I know that in places where it's hot, you have a lot of air conditioning. Air conditioning is the thing that kind of chews up energy more than anything else in a circuit or a base.
Unless you've got solar panels that are powering the air conditioner.
Yeah. So here, for example, we haven't tried a solar experiment in Alberta, but I think it would actually work. In BC, we tried some solar stuff and it wasn't really sustaining us. Like we needed a lot of panels. So I think that that's where that it also, like, again, going to go back to your bigger question, you tailor your strategy to where you are, to what the circumstance is, to the type of production it is, to the type of executives you have. I will say this about the battery. If I did not
Uh-oh.
have Netflix
Oh,
to
you
do.
broke up there.
Can
Oh,
you say
sorry.
that again?
You say I did not.
Oh,
Mm.
I will say I did not, if I did not have Netflix as a partner, like full tilt financial partner in trying this, we would not have succeeded in doing this. And I'm not even sure I'm allowed to talk about how much they helped, but we had huge financial support for them to try this out. And that's the only reason we were able to do it. So if I didn't have that, if I was on a show that didn't have that kind of a commitment to reducing emissions, we wouldn't be able to try this experiment. It would not work. I would have been able to do it on a much smaller scale because I can make the business case for it. But now that I've done it on such a large scale, I think that the data will be there for Netflix and they'll be able to go and try that in other jurisdictions and places. And they can tailor their strategy depending on the technology, the
Oh.
Atlanta, like they'll be able to use the solar much easier than we can in
Yeah.
BC, for example.
Hmm.
Yeah, you've got a hybrid microgrid or in some way. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you're going to start to see this more and more, especially if you're at a backlot or somewhere where you can have the space for I'm assuming it's a 40, 53-foot type
Yeah.
setup, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's oil field's been doing this kind of stuff forever.
And that's where that's where we
Yeah.
got this whole notion of it. The whole idea came from the oil patch. So again, it's another instance where you find people where they're at. And I was like, what if we could take something from the economy that already exists here and repurpose it for something that's, film.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share. We do this because we love doing it. We believe in what we're doing, and we believe in the amazing guests that we have. So please share this with a friend and a colleague and spread the word.
Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Social media is by Sharon Ewan. Our editor and producer is Rachel Werbel.